This is a story of my life lately as I follow Adam Morgan. So forgive me, I'm not quite as enthusiastic or I don't have the entertaining background. But when I'm not in the legislature, I work in commercial real estate, and particularly I represent small businesses. So a group like this, Mom and Pop Alliance, is very dear to my heart because not only do you fuel South Carolina, you fuel my family and put food on my table. So I appreciate that all over the state. I am originally from Spartanburg County. If you can't tell by the accent, I don't sound like I'm from the Low Country. That's because I'm not. But the wonderful people in Berkeley County decided to send me up to represent them. So talking about tort, I had some delicious tort earlier. That's a different kind of tort. Tort reform has been an issue in South Carolina for decades. And I know it doesn't look like I've been tracking this for decades, but I actually have. We have a situation in South Carolina where about a third of our legislature and almost half of our Senate are trial attorneys. Now, not all trial attorneys are bad. Some trial attorneys practice family law, not plaintiff attorneys. But in South Carolina, we have a large proponent of plaintiff attorneys, especially who write the laws about tort, about how to liability lawsuits, particularly about alcohol, practice DUI law, et cetera, et cetera. And well, here's the thing: that probably happens in every state. In South Carolina, though, we're the only state uniquely where the legislature appoints the judges. So we have this confluence of the legislature appoints the judges. We have larger legislators, for the most part, who are the majority of or at least until shortly, the screening committee that goes through the judges, who then practice in front of these judges, who also write the rules about tort reform. So what this has turned into in South Carolina, like Joe was saying, is an environment where insurers can't use accurate actuarial tables to calculate what are our risks. Because if you have unlimited risk in the case of alcohol liability, as many of y'all know, you can't account for that. So what are they doing? They're leaving. So a lot of my clients, and a lot of y'all as small business owners, it's not just the restaurants and the bars and taverns. It's hitting them first. It's actually hitting manufacturers, anybody with a fleet, anybody who has really any risk associated with their business have seen their insurance go. Anybody seen their insurance go up lately? You have? Yeah. Why is that? Well, we need to amend our tort reform laws. Right now, you can be held, if alcohol is involved at all, you can be 100% liable on the cost, on the what you have to pay, even if you're only 1% liable in the court case. That's not right. That's not just. So how do we fix that? Call your legislators. Adam mentioned earlier, if a legislator gets 50 phone calls, that's a really big deal. I used to work for a congressman many years ago. If a congressman got 50 phone calls on one issue, he'd pay attention to it. I mean, that was a really big deal. So one, call your legislator. Tell them, fix these tort reform laws. We can't fix the insurance problem without fixing the lawsuit problem. South Carolina is one of, if not the most litigious states in the country. And I think it has to be not circumstance and not just by happy accident that we're so litigious when we have so many legislators and lawyers who write the rules and appoint the judges that they practice in front of. That's not a happy accident. So that's on one. We have to fix these tort reform laws. And here's the good news. The momentum is growing. Last year there was a bill passed in the House that kind of did some Band-Aid, didn't make it to the Senate. Senate passed a halfway decent bill. So those of y'all who are going to the Senate, please bring that back. Didn't make it into the House, as often happens. That's usually the other way around, but we need that bill to come back. On the income tax side, how many of y'all would like a 6.1% raise in your income? Anybody? Everybody would be great? Yeah. So South Carolina has the highest income tax in the South. Did y'all know that? So a lot of my district was woods. I say most of my district was woods, trees, 15 years ago. I have 3, going to be 4, 55 and up gated communities in my district. I think it's got to be a record. Most of those folks are not from South Carolina. And when I have conversations with them, they're from New York, New Jersey, Ohio, places from off, and they think coming to South Carolina, my taxes are going to be lower, all this stuff. And they get here and figure out, oh, we have the highest income. Our income tax is actually higher than Massachusetts. Yeah, gasp. So in order to get rid of that, the first bill that I filed when I came in 2 years ago was to eliminate the income tax. And obviously we're not going to get there overnight. And we've been cutting the income tax, or our governor likes to say, we haven't passed the biggest income tax cut in state history. Well, 0.1% is the biggest income tax in state history. That is true. because it's the only one. What we actually need, if we want to be competitive with our neighbors, with Georgia, North Carolina, Florida, which is 0, Alabama, which is 5, all of our neighbors have a lower income tax by significant margins. If we want capital to keep coming here, we have to be competitive with that. And if we're going to cut the income tax, what do we also have to cut? I used to be a teacher, can y'all tell? We have to cut spending. So Thomas Sowell tells us there are no solutions, there's only trade-offs. You ever read Thomas Sowell? So if we cut the income tax, we got to cut spending. Now let me ask you, what's the trade-off? We're going to cut spending on. Are y'all willing to sacrifice $300,000 to go to the Greenville Zoo to set up an orangutan exhibit? Is that worth it to y'all? That was in the budget 2 years ago. Would y'all, and yeah, this is worth asking, would y'all be willing to cut $900,000 to go to the South Carolina Football Hall of Fame to start a podcast?
Yes. Yes.
Okay, all right. How about $250,000 to go to a privately run online alcohol recovery program where they serve alcohol at their meetings? Anybody? That was in last year's, it was in 2023 budget, in an earmark. Here's the reality. For the last 10 years, our budget's grown by about almost $1 billion, or more than $1 billion, consistently, in state money, not federal money. Part of that, and a huge part of that, hundreds of millions of dollars every year goes to earmarks. Those earmarks are unaccountable. Once they leave the state treasury, they're gone. Now, some of that goes to municipalities to do good things. Some of that goes to orangutan exhibits, the Greenville Zoo. And there's no accountability for it. So if we want to cut the income tax, cut earmarks is a good place to start. And that's almost a one-for-one change off on a year-to-year basis. There's also other things. Let me ask you, last question. Would y'all be willing to, okay, Thomas read my mind. Would y'all be willing to cut $5 million that the Arts Commission received last year that doubled their budget, or a 50% increase in their budget, $5 million, would you be willing to give up giving awards to gummy bear statue artists? Is that right? Okay. Yeah, $5 million. And we'll hear, believe me, when we get to the budget this year, you'll hear, if you tune in on SEE TV, when we get to the budget, you'll hear all about all the grantees that the Arts Commission gave. I have the whole list. And we're all going to hear about it and talk about it. And it's going to blow your mind. So just keep that in mind. If we have to cut the income tax to be competitive, we also have to cut spending, both in the earmarks and the government operating budget every year. Other states are doing this. Louisiana actually cut their budget last year. If you don't realize that or not, Louisiana is maybe the most conservative country in the state now. I think they surpassed Florida in their social and conservative fiscal policies. They cut their state budget. They decreased the size of government. Can you imagine that? And every time we decrease the size of government, that's more money back in your pockets. That's more money back in your customers' pockets to spend money in your businesses. I mean, that's the crux, and that's the founding, like Adam was saying. America was founded on that idea that the government does not know better than you how to spend your money. So that's what we're going to be about this year. Pay attention to what's going on in Columbia. I beg you. Washington, D.C., it's a swamp. I hope it gets better. South Carolina, you can have a huge effect as a small business and as an individual if you get involved and stay active and stay in communication with your legislator and let them know, fix this, or we'll find someone else to do it. So I appreciate your time. Thanks for coming. Thanks for